Hi, everybody. My name is BystanderTim, and I'm here today with Peglin. I'm also, of course, joined by my good friend SeaAverage, and all the way from the online words of the universe here. I'm struggling. We also have Gedig from Red Nexus Games. So I'm so excited for this. Of course, C here is going to be kind of the audience surrogate. He has played...
I played the mobile port, so like
minutes of this game.
I've played minutes of this game.
And of course, Dylan is graciously volunteering his time here to be here. So I'm just gonna get right into it. I'm very, very excited here. Threach, of course, we did have a bid war for whatever character we're gonna be playing. So why don't we go ahead and announce whoever won here?
Absolutely. You are going to be playing as Paladin.
Yeah, cool. So the Paladin is like, there's a bunch of different characters who all have a bunch of like very different play styles. The big thing about the Paladin is that he has this ball work mechanic, which is essentially armor. This gives me a little more wiggle room to do some interesting strats. So why don't we get into it? Time is gonna start whenever I hit play, but why don't we get a countdown from the crowd?
This can't possibly go wrong for us.
So 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Exactly what I expected.
All right, so every run of Peglin starts with a choice of 3 different relics here. I think we're gonna go ahead and go with the Mouse Circle. Mouse Circle is going to add on to our basic damage, and the way Peglin works is that this is a roguelike deck builder that kind of emulate, I've been telling a lot of people this week, is like, oh yeah, it's like Peggle, except it isn't. So, of course, my first question to Dylan is always just, what made you want to land on making like a pachinko-style roguelike?
Yeah, for sure. That just felt like something that was kind of missing out there. We'd been working on the game for a couple of months before we discovered that the gameplay is patented, and that's kind of why there's a hole, or was a hole in the market. But we sat down with a patent lawyer at that point, got an hour of his time, and told us it wasn't entirely risk-free, but it's worked out well so far. Knock on wood.
Awesome. So, of course, the way combat works is that every combat will take place on a similar board or layout like this, and after you finish a combat, you're going to have the option to pick between 3 different orbs out of your deck. One fun thing about this is that Peglin is full of orb puns. For example, the special orb that the Paladin gets is called the Sphere. It's both round and a spear. Kind of the mindset of what I'm looking for here is that the best thing I could say is kind of like games like Slay the Spire is the main objective of Peglin is that you're working down a map. You're bouncing between different combats, different events, and you're working to defeat 1 of 3 bosses out of 1 of 3 acts here. The way, the main strategy to kind of go optimally here, I'm getting bullied right now, is we're kind of trying to look for as little combat as possible here. So we're mainly looking for question marks, which are random events, which can be combats, but they could also do some very beneficial stuff here. I'm really dedicated to trying to hit these bombs over here on the right, and I'm struggling at best here. So...
Nice shot.
Nice shot. So I do want to keep my deck a little bit thin here because as we're working down, we're going to be trying to look for some very specific items. For example, here's a random event. Normally, you can go here and you could get a special thing where I miss a shot called an Orbalisk, which buffs your pebbles. But instead, we're going to take the opportunity to thin out our deck.
Yeah, generally speaking, in all card games, card builders, the thinner your deck is, the more often you're getting to those cards that you care about. So if you've ever played Slay the Spire or even Magic the Gathering, right? You're using fetch lands to thin your deck. You're removing your strikes and your blocks, that sort of deal, because you just want to get to those good cards more frequently, be shuffling the deck more often.
I was going to say, it's great that in this silly little peg game, you made a Magic reference. Yeah, the other thing we're specifically looking for is we haven't seen a whole lot of them, but there are relics Slay the Spire is honestly going to be the best thing to go here for, but there are relics that augment your gameplay here. Here's our first elite fight here. This is a good time to talk about like enemy pacing and everything. One thing that the Paladin starts out with and is a pretty good strategy overall is you're in massive search of some AoE, because that like scroll on the right here is slowly showcasing all the enemies that are going to be coming up over time. So if you could defeat enemies as fast as possible, for example, this slime boss here, which is the elite here, spends much more time not being able to hit me and do damage than he does if he was also A, surrounded by a bunch of enemies, and B, a lot closer. So we could just pretty easily take him out here. I am going to pick up a Dag Orb here. Dag Orbs are pretty strong in terms of crit damage, and we're going to take Alchemist Cookbook here. So we might start leaning into some bomb. I wanted to go left. Yeah.
That's right.
It's truly. The interesting thing to talk about here is that I'm actually playing on 3x game speed, which has its speed benefits and speed issues here. I believe this is, I don't know if you've genuinely said this on like the Steam layout and everything, but 3x game speed has some physics issues where all of a sudden you can make some like sharper bounces and things might not go exactly the way you want.
Yeah, we tried to fix it for ages, and it's just unfortunately with like the scale that we built the game at, because like we actually made it quite small, being like it's pixel art, and we should have made things like a bit more of a reasonable size, and just engine limitations. So we have a warning in game, but other than that, once we added 3x speed into the game, there is no way we could pull it out. So.
Yeah. And here speedrunners are, so.
It's usually just an issue with things like the Laze Orb, which like bounces around the pegboard, you know, at 1,000,000 miles per hour, even on default speed. It just starts to like clip through things. So, play at your own risk kind of deal.
I mean, I definitely would want to be a little more considerate if a laser orb was flying around my house at 40 miles an hour. But yeah, we're getting close onto our first boss, and we haven't really seen a whole lot. We're just kind of chugging along here as normal. But we are coming up on our first boss. I forget this boss's name. This is one of the new bosses, but the bosses are where you're really going to start seeing some like augments in the way like enemies interact with the board and everything. So for example, this boss is mainly like with the bramble mechanic. So you can see these you can see these like tripwires on the screen that are there. If I throw an orb in there, the throw is going to immediately stop, and that orb is going to get stuck there. And I'm going to take a little bit of bramble damage. There you go. So the risk reward here is that if I free those orbs again, they're going to start bouncing down like a normal multi-ball would. But at the same time, you're going to take a little bit more stray damage as well. But we're going to more than likely kill on this throw here. Good shot. Bad shot.
A great example of it as well, where you freed it with like a dagger that was on crit, which, 13 damage per peg versus a pebballs. Like I think your, crit damage is 4.
All right. I guess we're going with the constricting chains. So these are some boss relics. We are in between worlds, though. We are starting Act 2, so I do want to hand it to Threach real quick for a quick donation.
Thank you so much. We have a $50 donation from Isaias Rodriguez, who says, just wanted to thank Peglin for ruining my life. Game of the year, though.
Yeah, so the constricting chains that we picked up from this boss have a pretty, hefty risk and reward here. We're going to start seeing a lot more different shots here, because in exchange for every shot I do now having 3 orbs that pop out here, we are going to be locked to 4 cardinal directions. So we're going to be kind of going with the flow now. We're really at the mercy of the game now. And for things like these mirror enemies, luckily, we have enough peg real estate on the board in order to really mitigate our damage here. We're not seeing a whole lot of what I want to do. Cool.
Yeah, this is the third major rework of the chains, and I think I'm finally happy with them. You know, trying to create an interesting limitation with an upside that makes it worth it was surprisingly challenging. Originally, like, you were locked to 3 directions, and all you got was, like, I think, like, +2, +4 to each of your orb attacks. Like, very underwhelming. And so this one kind of giving you that scatter shot and making the limitation a little less painful, except in navigation. Like, I'm pretty happy with how it feels these days.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely taken it more since the rework. It's also definitely been, like I said, it's just kind of like, oh, there's been a lot more, oh, I guess I'm going that way, playing with that. Yeah, no, the game is just not wanting to play nice here. We're gonna go for the double shop. I feel like everybody at home is like wondering, the entirety of just, oh, I guess I'm going that way, it's baked in at this point. You're not truly playing Peglin if you don't go, I wish I went that way, and then have to like save your run.
It's funny how often it gets requested that we just straight up remove that from the game, but like, it's such a core piece of it. And it's something that people might not have picked up on. During scenarios, you're just kind of at the mercy of, you know, how well you can aim through the peg layout. But during battle, any pegs that you've hit at any point during that battle, whether or not they've been refreshed, will disappear during your navigation. So if you have a particular direction in mind while you're fighting, you can kind of dig out the path that you're aiming to go for.
Yeah, so while we were kind of in between that, I'm making a quote-unquote strategic pivot here. I did pick up a bomb orb right now. The main thing about a bomb orb is that it's pretty much a bomb generator on the board here. So what's going to end up happening is that every time I hit a couple pegs right now, I'm gonna be generating a whole lot more bombs, and we already have a couple bomb augments right now. I picked up a relic which gives me +10 bomb damage as well as the ability to hit pegs here. We're gonna not. So right now, a lot more of our damage is gonna start coming from explosions here.
Those bombs do self-damage too, though, don't they?
No, these bombs don't.
Oh, okay, that's good.
If they're red bombs, they do self-damage, but they also do significantly more damage. Like, without the relic that boosts the damage right now, they do 50. Right now, they're doing 60 each, as well as this relic lets them blow up pegs. We're going to Gamba here because...
Sweet.
Aw, dang it. So we're just gonna kind of throw it in for fun because we're not doing a whole lot of regular damage right now. We are dealing with the Trebuchet Bros here. Trebuchet Bros are interesting because every 3 or 4 turns they're gonna start loading up a Trebuchet shot here. I keep calling it, it's like a ballista. I keep calling it a Trebuchet. It's not a Trebuchet. But if that thing is loaded and it hits me directly, it not only does like 30 damage, but it also gives me the confused thing, which is just gonna start spinning my crosshair in a circle. But we're already done with the Act 2 boss here. Let's go squirrels. Yay, squirrels.
Hey. To explain the gambling chip a little bit, now at the bottom of the screen, there's a bunch of numbers. So effectively what is happening is every ball that lands in one of those numbers is a damage modifier for the attack that Tim is doing, which is really powerful with the 3 at least balls that Tim is throwing, because all of them could land in the 2 times slot, and then that's 6 times damage for that throw, which is really cool. Or they could all land in half damage, and that'd be also really funny.
Yeah, it's actually exponential. So if you had multiple end in 2, that would be like 2, 4, 8, etc.
Yeah, I mean, I was telling, people are asking me like at the beginning of the event, it's like, oh yeah, how is practice going? And it's like, well, I mean, I got in a pretty good run, and I went like, well, I hit a guy for 100,000 damage. So I think things are going pretty well right now, but we're doing pretty good with the bombs here. So the third act is definitely the most dangerous. It's also the most all over the place here. You're going to start seeing a lot more difficult combats here. We are actually going to see those red bombs that we were talking about here. So if you notice, I'm occasionally taking some extra damage here. That's actually the difficult thing about going really hard at some multi-ball strategies is that there are a lot of opportunities for self-damage here. Both my left and bottom option are out of bomb. we're gonna send it. If you end up in one of those black holes, you get a random navigation. So this is a fun elite combat here. You might notice, there's one guy there.
Well, a lot of them landed in half damage. That's pretty fun.
Look, man, they blew up. They blew up.
Matter. Wow.
Yeah, the grip does not affect the bombs, so you're all good on that front.
Yeah, so there was stuff there, but that entire layout is that there's actually 10 invisible enemies there that aren't allowed to be targeted, so they kind of check, all right, go. They kind of check targeted builds because not only does that weather vane enemy eat up your target, but they also just end up, cool, there was an elite there. So they just end up taking up all your target damage, and you're all of a sudden having to deal with a bunch of enemies that you can't see and you can't hit. Mental mantle, sure.
At this point, I know we're kind of nearing the end of this run, right? What is the thing you're most worried about in this sort of situation that you're in now? It feels like you're pretty powerful, but
oh no.
Oh, okay. Is it this?
Oh no. Oh no. We're about to blow up even more.
Oh, good. Okay.
The relic I just picked up. I've been making a bunch of bombs, right? That relic I just picked up, which is every time I make a bomb, it's gonna make an extra bomb.
That's totally reasonable.
A little filthy. That's a brand new relic as of the last update.
So we're gonna go kaboom. Yeah, this is certainly Peglin at his finest here. Oh, this guy only takes damage from actual peg hits here, so he's gonna last a lot. Okay.
A lot longer.
Yeah, a lot longer. We're nearing the end of the run here, so Threach, why don't you get him one more donation? Oh no, I'm duplicating it.
This boss is not going to know what hit him.
Absolutely, we've got some time. We've got a $100 donation from Led Shep, who says, proud of you and what you're doing for a great cause. Love you, buddy.
Thank you. That was my dad, and not your dad.
Hi, Dad.
Thanks, Dad.
I'm 0-2 on people taking ownership of my dad. All right, so we are at the final boss. Are you a big fan of Minesweeper?
Oh my gosh.
So this is the Super Sapper, which technically this is the one thing that could be an issue, but the Super Sapper is essentially the bomb boss right here, and he is mainly focused on just like Minesweeper. If I hit a mine right now, he's going to get a damage boost, as well as he's going to start summoning these red bomb throwers, which are if they get any closer, they're going to get it's going to be really difficult to deal with them. But I mean, let's go gambling. We're gonna hit him. Oh, we didn't even hit him. That's time, by the way. So yeah, that was Peglin. Pretty much everything that is quote unquote fast about that did not happen, but we had a great time.
That was good.
Bombs worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, halfway through, the pivot worked. We pivoted. That being said, of course, it's always an honor to run for GDQ. This is now my 7th run with the event, and SGDQ 2025 will be a decade since my first run, so I've been around this hobby quite a bit. I want to thank SeaAverage for being here. Obviously, you've now seen more than minutes of this game.
True. Yeah.
I want to thank Dylan over at Red Nexus Games. Peglin's a fantastic game, and I really appreciate you being here. And I really appreciate all the time and investment that you've put into just creating an awesome game. That being said, I'm BystanderTim. I run a whole bunch of different indie games, whether games that tens of people have played or beloved games like Peglin. You can find me over at twitch.tv/BystanderTim_, or you could follow me on Twitter or Blue Sky at BystanderTim. With that, of course, Mom, I love you and I miss you every single time. I am so happy that I'm able to do this and help change the world. But with that, that's all from me. Thank you so much for watching. Keep supporting the marathon, keep donating, and there's nothing like a good AGDQ. Thank you so much.